Time for Shiny Side Out with Dave and Mecky. So I hope you have your tinfoil hat all made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mecky.
Mickey was muted.
Hello, and welcome to Shiny Side Out with
Dave.
There you go. Mackie, that's me. Now, we're broadcasting live from the Sydney studios in Australia. Join us in the freedomslips.com chat room. You can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. In fact, we're in the chat room right now. And I caught the tail end of Solaris' show, but I'll talk to you about that in just a second. You can get our show notes and all of the links we share with the chat room at shinysideout.net. One word, shinysideout.net. Now, we haven't really added probably a few shows. We got some cleaning up to do over Christmas. I'm going to add a whole bunch of the show notes that we haven't put up there. So, guys, bear with us. But we actually have day jobs. But they will be up there. You can get connected to Revolution Radio another way because it's on air, online, and on your smart device, whatever that might look like. If you live in Kentucky, you can tune in on FM. Find WZZR 101.3. WZZR 101.3. That's really cool. You can use one of these apps to listen on your device. TuneIn.com, Web Radio Central, Receiver mobile app, Freedom Slips mobile, TalkStream Live, StreamFinder.com, InternetRadio.com, Radio Tuner, Radio Ways, Radioline.co, and our very own Shiny Side Out app. I'm sure there's millions of people using it right now. At home, you can listen on a Grace tabletop digital radio. Or if you're driving around in a GM motor vehicle, you may have a receiver-enabled radio. And in fact, I think that in the future of car manufacturing, all the radios will in fact be internet-enabled. And these are all revolutions in radio. That's right. Some of the largest communities are gathering in media forums that are not traditional. We are watching the revolution unfold as we speak. FreedomSlips.com is not only a radio station, guys, but a central hub for all of your informational needs. The links are at the bottom of the homepage. And I will tell you why you need to do that. Because the mainstream media simply will not tell you the full story. They won't, and they won't report on certain things at all, whereas we will. Well, not Dave and I per se, but certainly freedomslips.com, who in fact sent a reporter, if I'm not mistaken, to North Dakota to cover the standoff.
The pipeline standoff, yes.
Yeah, between the Native Americans and the evil corp that's trying illegally, I might add, to build a pipeline. You can buy a CD of your favorite shows if you want for $34.95 and in the US, or $39.95 outside the US. Or you can donate, which would be great. I'll talk about that. And receive a USB stick or 75K seed pack. You just follow the instructions when you're donating. The number to call in if you're in the US of A, the United States, is 347-688-2902. 347-688-2902. Or via Skype, you can just add Freedom Screen. Freedom Screen. I have to say, what I like about America is Five Guys Burgers. The Five Guys Burgers are the best. I love them. Everybody goes in about, they're going about In-N-Out, and there's another one, Shake Shack. Yeah. You know what? I had a great shake at Mel's Diner in Hollywood. That's where I had the best shake when I was in the States. Mel's Diner. If you're ever there, it's retro, it's awesome, you should really go. No, I don't get any money for this. I just want to tell you where good eats are. In fact, I might do that going forward. If I travel a lot more, and which I will, then I will tell you where to eat, wherever you might be, as well as in Australia. We've got some awesome places opening up here. And this is, completely unendorsed. I just want to make sure you guys get a good feed. Now, donating. This is a listener-funded radio station. This has no corporate sponsorship. This has no agenda. Well, we have an agenda to bring you guys, whatever news we can, and live on the fringe. That's our agenda. Strap on your tinfoil hats. Yeah, but so if you can donate, that would be great. This month we're looking pretty good, but the more we can raise, the better. And sometimes, Nighthawk has to upgrade equipment, and it's really important that we support him in his endeavors, because he's given a plethora of hosts the opportunity to speak on this platform, on this forum. It's awesome. It's the old soapbox. Yeah, it's the old soapbox in Hyde Park. In fact, in Sydney, we have a Hyde Park. There's a soapbox there as well. You can stand and rant and talk and go on, and no one can stop you. And that's pretty much what we're doing here for the next 2 hours. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thanks, Mecky. And hello to all of you listening today. Solaris' show was awesome too, wasn't it?
I actually caught the last 20 minutes.
Okay.
Lilly, David Lilly or
Dwight
Lilly.
Dwight Lilly.
That's right. Interesting guy. I'm going to check out his website. There's some interesting theories. I completely agree with him on everything he said about education. We're completely lockstep. He's got that. I found interesting what he said about Islam. I'm actually going to look at that now. I'm going to see if there's any fact to it at all. But he mentioned, sorry, not he, but rather the question was asked in the chat room if it's possible that Islam was created by the Catholic Church. As an agenda item, for the elite to play each other, well, to play us off against each other. But that's an interesting theory. Let's see if there's anything to it. So stay tuned, listeners. I will look at that because I find that fascinating, and crazier things have come true, right?
Do you know you've got to ask the questions, and that's what Lily was saying.
Yeah, there are no wrong questions.
You've got to ask the questions. Yeah. Otherwise, if you don't investigate, you're no better than the sheeple next to you.
Yeah. But see, I feel sorry. Look, yeah, I do feel sorry for people. I'll tell you why. Because essentially you're born into a society, right? There's not much you can do about it. It's just, I guess dumb luck, or maybe there's some kind of predestination. I don't know. But the point is you're born into a family, into a society, into a country, into a time period, if you will, right? So there you are. Thrown naked and completely without a clue into the world.
For want of a better sound effect, boing.
Yeah, there you go. But and then if you're lucky enough to live in a country, in a family that's well off, and have a roof over your head, you get fed every day. I mean, these are blessings, right? And because we have it, we don't think about it. A lot of people don't get that. But again, you might be unlucky and be born into a racist family or a dogmatic, bigoted religious family. Anything could be possible.
It could be.
The thing is this:
it could be wealth. It could be abject poverty. You could be in India.
But to escape that, to escape the mindset that pretty much you're born into, that is an achievement. If you can manage that's an amazing achievement. It's not easy. So I will not condemn people who can't jump over their own shadow, because it is hard. And when Dave and I speak to people before the show, they like to listen to us up to a point. It's interesting, it's intriguing, it's entertaining. It's a lot of information, right? Some of it might be wrong, sure enough, but it's certainly a different point of view. But there comes a point, especially when they realize that we're serious, that there's this in most people, not all, there's a certain resistance that starts building up at that point.
That's right.
And they don't really want to go any further, don't want to talk anymore, because you're now questioning. Right? Exactly. You're questioning their whole way of life.
Yes.
And that's hard, guys. And look, we really shouldn't condemn people that have a hard time, because I get it. If you've grown up in a community, that's all you know, right? Hey, it's tough to realize there's a big world out there, ugly and beautiful at the same time, but nonetheless it's different to what you know. It's different to what you know. And so how much can you protect your children if you want to do that? How much should you expose it? I think exposure is good. But you have to look after them. But you should let your children develop their own minds. You should not force them into a template. It's my opinion. I'm trying not to force mine into a template either.
Well, yeah. Well, likewise. I think it can be quite. Well, I know it to be quite confronting when you're presented information which conflicts with your belief. That can be very confronting, and you have to make a decision whether to acknowledge and accept the information, close your mind to the possibilities that information may open up to you, or truly ignore it and go about your business. Yeah. Thinking about those three choices and how you interpret all information coming towards you. I remember when Mecky and I first started talking, And one of the topics that came up, of the many topics, was fluoride. Absolutely. It was one of the many topics. Now, I wasn't on board with Meki, and it blew my mind to hear what fluoride really was and how it's used in everything today, and now that we've done some more research to find that the little contact that it does come in contact with your teeth is, which is their excuse for putting it in water, has no effect on your teeth at all.
That's right.
So what is it there for if it's not for your teeth, which it isn't for your teeth? And so that's what I say. You ask questions. The more you find out, the more you need to ask more and more and more until you've got it covered. Now, I wanted to, Meki, I might just use that as an opportunity, as a segue here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I was talking to people this week, and I said, my poor friends in the lunchroom at work, because you spend more time with the people at work than you do with your family, and there's a nice mix of opinions and belief systems, and I just like to raise questions. I don't like to do anything else. I'm not telling them that the earth was created by aliens or anything. All I'm saying is I asked them, isn't it interesting that the bombing of the convoy occurred this week? And they say, yeah, it's awful, isn't it? And the humanitarians, all 20 of them, they died. And I said, yeah, well, what happened last week? And they go, I don't know. What happened last week? Well, I said, Australian planes in the coalition with the US bombed Aleppo. In fact, they bombed a Russian military-held, Syrian Syrian government held building. And what happened to that story? Well, immediately, what some in my group said, tit for tat, which means to get back at. But I don't think it was. I think if you have a look at the story, it was just to bury the other one. But I started Googling and I found a whole bunch of previous, oops, we bombed the wrong buildings, killed civilians. Anyone...
Oh, Clinton was master at that. He bombed. Do you remember in Sudan, he bombed a pharmaceutical company and hospitals because they were producing non-sanctioned drugs, meaning nobody in the States was getting a royalty. So that went out the window. Boom, gone. Yeah, good, royalties come back in.
Well, back just in Syria, just in July, if you don't remember it, the coalition had bombed civilians, and the list goes back. But I have to say that there was 80 Syrian soldiers killed and 100 injured by an Australian plane as part of the coalition in Syria. Now, if you're fighting next to someone, you'd want to share your intelligence to the extreme. In fact, you would want to call them and confirm that the target you've got is the target they've got. Otherwise, don't, open those bomb bay doors. Don't send the missiles in. Because the Russia and Syria deny the UN convoy bombing, where 31 vehicles in a convoy there were, but witnesses say 20 missiles pounded the area for hours. Hours. You don't imagine that kind of thing occurring with aircraft. It doesn't sound like an airstrike to me at all. I mean, missiles pounding, it sounds like a ground-to-ground attack. There's trucks with a tilt-up back. What are they?
Yeah, they're called Stalin Orgel, or in German, which an orgel is actually an organ, a Stalin organ. So they just go. It's like it's a battery of 16 or something. Right?
That's right. Yeah, flying out of there, all basically towards the same target. Now, that seems more likely when you've witnessed the destruction around that convoy. All right. Now, the United Nations has suspended all aid convoys. Hang on, but wasn't the ceasefire set up for aid convoys? Wasn't that what it was about? Ceasefire.
Well,
we need to get humanitarian efforts in there and supplies, medical supplies. Yeah.
The problem was it wasn't, right?
Well, of course it wasn't. And it says the United Nations state that it could be a war crime to have bombed, according to the UN officials. Jen Lurk. I have to say that what about that story where there was 80 Syrian soldiers killed and 100 injured by the coalition? Yeah. That's not a war crime, is it? Where you shoot your partner, your coalition.
First of all, it's friendly fire, and secondly, it's they're legitimate combatants. It's okay.
Well, what about in July when we killed 20 civilians? And remember the boy being removed from the rubble? Yeah. It doesn't matter anymore, does it?
No, it's out of the news cycle.
Yeah,
it is out of the, and this is really the kicker, guys. Once it's out of, Becky, what's a news cycle? Well, news cycle is how long people remember stuff. These days, it's not very long. It is not. You get away with a lot of stuff because people simply do not remember. Nobody remembers who paid for the Mujahideen in the 70s and 80s. Do you? Do you remember? I tell you who. The CIA.
That's right.
Oh, hang on. Who was a Mujahideen? Oh, Osama bin Laden. That's right.
That's right. Also, the CIA brought over the Al-Qaeda members on dodgy visas into the US to show them how to look after pipelines. That's absolutely true. They got in trouble for it.
In fact, the Taliban or the Al-Qaeda, I can't remember. No, the Taliban. They flew to Texas. They were flown to Texas.
That's right, Taliban.
Yeah, they were flown to Texas. They were flown to Texas, and everything would have been honky dory if they had worked out a deal around the pipeline that was meant to go through all of Afghanistan and then into the Persian Gulf, because that was the cheapest and most economical route to take for the oil companies to get all the Central Asian gas and oil deposits, especially gas, to ship to the world, guys. They are dolls within dolls, layers within layers, like wheels within wheels. Yeah, that Russian doll, the babushka dolls. That's what we're looking at. Except there is no smallest. There is no smallest.
Just the plank length, Mickey, I think, is the smallest thing we're looking at here.
Well, yeah, that's true. It is 1 to the minus 36 or 37.
35. Minus 35.
35. Thank you, sir.
Look, I had another point to bring up, and this was due to a post that I've recently put in Facebook, which was around the technology that the military currently have, and it's not wild by any stretch of the imagination, and it was simply a news story put out by where does it go? Hang on. Oh, I can't do that one. Anyway, look, it's a news story that suggests that NASA's Starship could reach Alpha Centauri, the closest star to our sun, in just 2 weeks. That's the news story.
How about that?
Yep,
guys, 2 weeks. That's what 3 point. Well, I think it's 3 light years or 2.7, something like that. Yeah. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and they're talking about a warp drive. This is like Star Trek stuff.
That's right.
That's what they're talking about. They're talking about bending space-time around the craft, which then allows it to traverse that bend space quicker than it would normal space. Makes sense, right? Well, trust me, it does make sense. So if you can bend it, if they truly can do that, if there's something to be bent, and they can, bending it actually makes the distance shorter. They're not opening wormholes. That's not what they're doing. All right, this is not that. This is different. And it traverses the distance in the blink of an eye, really, in comparatively speaking, because 2.3 light takes 3 years to get here. Light travels at 360,000 kilometers a second. That's what, 280,000 miles, something like that. 360,000 kilometers a second, right? And we do 3 light years. So this light year is not a measure of time; it's a measure of distance.
In
they say they can do that in 2 weeks.
That's right.
What?
That's right. So look, in response to that story, I put out hands up those who think they've already been, and that's in reference to going to Alpha Centauri. Every one of my friends says, nope, no, forget it, doomed to failure, no. No one was on my side with this, right?
I am on your side.
Yeah, thank you very much, Becky, of course. Yep, you don't know what I'm talking about, but it's all good. And then I posted an interview with a fellow who spoke directly with Ben Rich, and that's where that quote comes from. We've got the Technology to Take ET Home conference. He was part of the alumni where Ben Rich spoke after his retirement. And I have to say that he retired on the same day as the F-117 had its maiden military combat mission.
Mm-hmm.
Its maiden combat mission into Iraq, which was on the same day, coincidentally, 10 years after its first flight.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that for a second. Right? And that plane itself, the plane was originally designed in the 70s. And so I thought, well, what I'll do, I'll just let people know that Skunk Works has worked on a number of planes. And let's just say the U-2 was flying in the 50s. Mm-hmm. The SR-71 was developed in the 60s. And the F-117 was designed in the 70s, and its first flight was in 1981.
Mm-hmm.
What have they been doing since? That raised my question.
Mm-hmm.
So, we didn't find out about the SR-71 until it was 25 years after it had been retired.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I went hunting around for some military tech. What can I find that is out there at the moment? And I found on military.com the TR-3B anti-gravitic spaceship. Military.com. Only one person says, oh, the video's fake. But everyone else, it's good. I've seen one of those. One flew over my house, blah, blah, blah. And it continues. And people have been talking about this let's call it a weapons platform for some time. And I have to say, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about, you remember, Mackie, the people with not their head in the sand, but the people who choose not to know about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got trailblazers like Mackie and I, and we've got the entire paranormal community who is already across it. They already know what a TR-3B is. I don't have to say anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the SR-72, which I'm no doubt is what we've seen in the air, which is suborbital and has been creating those blue streaks that seem to get expansively wide in the sky, in the evening skies. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of film about that. Remember, they had some 1,200 missions from the SR-71, and the only thing that was ever recorded about those missions were the sonic booms on its approach.
Yep.
When it landed. And that's it. And they're recorded for all intents and purposes for the rest of history in a Californian seismic readings. They're there because they occurred the same day, the same time as the mission ended. So you have to think about this. We don't really know what's going on, and they won't tell us what's going on. And the whole thing is all about the media not telling us, because they could tell us. Imagine if suddenly it became true that the media started to say, oh, actually, no, everything we've told you is a lie. Don't worry about it. We'll get around the truth one day. But we're just saying, we've been lying to you.
Well, Dave, at this point in the game, honestly,
they could.
I don't think there'd be much of an outrage, because I think people are too lethargic. And no, look, it's true though. But look,
You tell
This
us,
is the
Quimby.
thing. Some people would probably be outraged. There might be some protests, sure, all that good stuff. But the vast majority of people would go, yeah, so what? Or does it really matter they've lied to us? Or they might not even think about it consciously in those terms at all. Because we have given up a lot of our critical thought privileges. We allow us to be swamped, drowned in television, if you will. Right? We allow ourselves to be fed with fast food and processed food and chemicals. And do you even know half the stuff you put into your body? Seriously? You don't. We're calcifying our pineal gland. We drink fluoridated water. We do all the things they want us to do because it's easy. They know it's easy. Eating sugar is easy because it's in everything. Don't avoid sugar.
Try and find the news story. If you Google it, try and find the news story that came out last week about the sugar industry paying to lie about their findings and blame fat in the diet. And of course, fat has absolutely nothing to do with weight gain. It's all about sugar.
I want to tell you something about fat and sugar. Let me tell you a little story.
Here we go. Because remember, this man, my co-host, Meki, has not eaten for 3 weeks, Meki?
3 weeks. I haven't eaten in 3
goodness.
weeks. That's correct. I have not eaten in 3 weeks. I feel good. I'm taking a Chinese herbal drink 3 times a day, which replaces, I guess, my food needs or my basic food needs. I can't exercise or do anything strenuous. My blood sugar is too low, but I've lost 15 kilos. I'm wearing clothes I haven't worn in years, and I have to buy new belts. But yeah, so 15 kilos down from 120 kilos to 105 in 3 weeks. Don't recommend it because it takes a lot of effort to do it. It takes a lot of effort. But yeah, 15 kilos. It's interesting, and I feel good. But I'm starting to eat now, and tomorrow I can eat half a cucumber, and the day after I get half a cucumber, and on Wednesday I get an egg. Right. Good for me. No, but the story about sugar and fat is this. We all know aspartame and associated or similar sweeteners, artificial sweeteners, not stevia, for example, but artificial sweeteners are carcinogenic. Nobody disputes this. It's a fact. Now, clearly, you have to eat a lot of it before it becomes a problem, but we are eating enough now, so it becomes a problem. However, the American medical establishment made the decision, an informed, deliberate decision, that it is more desirable to have people dying from cancer in 20, 30 years rather than having people, suffer from diabetes and morbid obesity right now. Okay, so here's the fat and there's the sugar, right? They went the way of the artificial sweetener rather than the sugar. So let me say this. If you need to have sugar, eat the sugar. Eat the organic sugar, eat the raw sugar if you can, please, or use honey for crying out loud, right? But do not eat the artificial sweeteners because they will cause cancer in your system, all kinds of cancers. Have you seen where they make it? They wear complete hazmat suits. Fat. Fat. You need fat to live. However, there's good fats and there's bad fats, like fish oil, omega-3 oils. They're good fats, right? Olive oil, that's good. You can even eat butter in moderation. Do not eat margarine. That stuff will also kill you. Yep. Cook it down in your pan. Take a blob of margarine, put it in your pan, put on the heat, and see what happens to the margarine in your pan. It turns into a black blob of plastic, is what's happening. Okay, eat the natural food. Don't eat the processed food. Our even our parents, but certainly our grandparents, they didn't have these issues: diabetes, obesity, morbid obesity. Artificial sweeteners, they would have laughed at you. What's the point? Just
put real sugar in it. That's right. That's what they would do.
Yeah. Oh, sweet taste. Who cares? No, they ate natural foods. Eat natural foods. Do that. Yeah. Before it becomes outlawed. Before it becomes a mental illness to want to eat natural foods.
It is already a mental illness.
Actually, you're right. It is. So, guys, this should be non-debate. We do this. We do this to ourselves. We do it because we allow it to happen. The millions of children in school, in Australia as well as in the States or in Europe for that matter, maybe Europe a little less, we feed them horrendous crap. Pardon my French. It is awful. I wouldn't eat that stuff. Eat whole foods. It's actually cheaper to eat whole foods. believe it or not, there was this guy in Super Size Me.
Yes.
He went to school, and the school this was the school where all the bad kids from all the other schools went to. All of them, all the bad schools, all the kids got kicked out, had behavioral disorders, disciplinary problems. They all went to that school. You know what that school did? Completely organic food, no soft drinks, no processed food. And you know how many issues they had? Less than normal schools. They changed it out. You know what's really bad? The coloring in your food, especially red and green. That'll really, really knock your kids around. Okay, sorry, that's all I want to say about that.
Wow, hit a nerve there. Yeah. but look, Meki is right. And really, when you think about it, we know that palm sugar is destroying forests to put palm sugar in.
Yep.
So that's probably bad. Having sugar in moderation is fine, but it shouldn't be in all foods all the time. Yeah, that's really the basis of it. And you know what, Meki, you're right. Organic food, well, actual food. Let's call it actual food.
Actual food, yeah. None of the unfoods. No unfood.
Non-food, simulated food or near food experiences. All right, so if you can, reject the near foods, the things that resemble food, and move towards something more, real. I know that the station owner, Nighthawk, has his own garden, and I've got chickens, so I don't buy anything with any of the chemicals. There's no, I suppose they're organic. They really are. They're natural and organic. There's no feed or anything that's been processed by any other company. We buy natural foods, and they eat our scraps. And I don't know. It's a life that I think that we all yearn to have. Is one where we're living back off the land again. And if there was any giant cataclysm, you know what? We'd be back there, and I think whoever survived would probably do quite well.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Meki, this last week's show was tremendous, and I had a lot of comments and some emails saying, well done talking about 1984, and people agreeing that we're in the middle of it. We are in it. We, like you said last week, just to recap, there's a perpetual war going on, this war on terror, which just seems to be getting worse if you follow the media. Once again, it's all media. There's less caring from those elite about our meat wagons, us. That's all we are. And the previous guest mentioned this as well, and we've spoken about this at length. Just want to bring your attention to the Georgia Guidestones once again. 500 million global population that's going to require some kind of hefty extermination process to get us down to that. From 7, we're almost at 7.7 billion, Meki.
Yeah, we're almost at critical mass for our theory, for our hypothesis. I think it's now more than a hypothesis. I think there's quite a few data points that
we're at 7.4.
I know, it goes quick. Man. But look, if we're right and 7.770 is the magic number, then something will probably happen relatively soon. We could be completely wrong, of course, but I still believe that the awareness cascade will happen. I do believe that, because there is such a thing as the Akashic record, the collective unconscious. There is, and Edgar Cayce actually plugged into that. Some others did as well, and some others still do. So I do believe there's a collective mind. There's a collective mind of us out there somehow, and we can't quite grasp it, but it's definitely there, because there's information stored about the human race that came before us. Go back to the beginning of time, right? Mm-hmm. Which also sort of plays into the the theory that we're living in a simulation, because the kind of informational storage makes perfect sense, right? It's like a backup. If everything goes to down the drain, you just reboot and restore, more or less. But the point is, and in fact, like the Matrix and other movies and books and thoughts, Plato, they've all touched on this. They have all touched on this. Everybody's touching on this because we know it. Deep inside us, there's something inside us that knows this is the truth, that knows that everything is not as it seems. And we do the best we can to completely ignore that little nagging voice. We do everything we can. Instead, we try to fill that void, that nagging, with all kinds of things: religion, faith, entertainment, drugs, food, sex, whatever you want to throw at yourself, you can. You will not fill that hole until you actually start questioning the things as they are presented to us. All right, that's the kicker here, guys. And 1984 is a very insightful novel into where we are, and it's completely designed to not make us think like that, to kill critical thinking. In fact, 1984 is about making sure that they can watch you at all times, to make sure, yet again, using that word, that you do not have those critical thoughts. Yeah, remember The Simpsons? Independent thought alarm. Quickly. Bring in the fluoride. So,
re-education.
Yeah, re-edification. Relax and let the hooks do their work. But yeah, so in fact, Dave is right. We're actually in the middle of it, and we're also in the middle of our show. Last week we left off at number 5, and this week it is number 6. We're sharing with you. These are surveillance or technologies that are in the near future, and in fact happening right now. Technologies that are, in fact, we brought this show to you 2 years ago, and we're doing it again because it was a lost archive. But so it's been 2 years. We've updated it to give it some more immediacy. But some of the things we mentioned, they were mentioned 2 years ago already. So 2 years ago, right? So sometimes when we say a recent article, we mean an article 2 years ago. So you can imagine that 2 years have passed. Things would have progressed much more since then. Dave?
Sure, this is law enforcement using your own cell phone to spy on you. Although this is not a new technology, as in cell phones, law enforcement authorities are using our own cell phones to spy on us more intensely, more extensively than ever before. And there's a link in the show notes to an article. But I mean, recently the whistleblower from the CIA, retired CIA, ex-CIA guy, stated that they can turn the webcams on and off at will, and including a microphone. Mm-hmm. It says mobile carriers responded to a staggering 1.3 million law enforcement requests last year, which is 3 years ago. Subscriber information, including text messages and phone location data, according to data provided to Congress. Remember the Apple case where they wanted access to the phone, and the head of McAfee said, "Give me the phone, I'll have the data." That's what he said. But Apple say, "Oh, you can't get the data. No, we can't do that." What a crock. Absolute lies. Yeah? If the head of McAfee can do it, anyone can do it.
That's right.
A single request can involve information about hundreds of customers. So ultimately, the number of Americans affected by this could reach into tens of millions each year. The number of Americans affected each year by the growing use of mobile phone data by law enforcement could reach into the tens of millions, as a single request could ensnare dozens or even hundreds of people. Yeah, I told you in the past about the circle program, where every person you contact ends up forming a circle, and every one of their communications end up their own circle. So you end up with a screen full of circles. The more contact with the more people, the bigger the circle, and the more contact between individuals, the thicker the line gets. Mm-hmm. And so you're easily able to determine what kind of contact people are making with others, and that includes social media now. Not just your text messages, but all your phone calls, and that's Skype calls. Every single thing that you do is now monitored through a very, very similar system. And because of the retention laws in our country, in Australia, have now been made mandatory, that they keep the information so that if there was an issue, say Meki and I met in the park and we sat next to each other, though we appeared to not be communicating to each other, but we were, can you imagine just for 1 second that they'd be able to triangulate our positions to prove that we were in the same location at the same time by the keeping of this data? And at some point, law enforcement will automatically issue tickets to you because you drove too fast on a road, because your cell phone transmitted that you were traveling that speed. Okay, via GPS. It knows, they know, and that's what this is all about. Once you are aware that they're doing it, would you? Would you then speed just to test them? Unlikely. So once people become aware that they can do this, and this is part of them telling us that they're doing it, the crime instances using this technology will go down. Or the jails just fill up with remarkably stupid people. But, we'll have to see. So, for instance, if police wanted to try to find a person who broke into a store window at an Occupy protest, for instance, it could get the phone numbers and identify data of all the protesters within a mobile phone's use of the tower in that scene. Of course, they can actually GPS you and use that data for any of their purposes. And you have to remember this. That is very important to remember. Meki, what's number 7?
Number 7, we're going to talk about biometric databases. Biometric meaning, essentially measurements taken from your body, like iris scanning, face scanning, handprints, fingerprints, things like that, right? Even now they're thinking about EKGs and even EEGs, meaning they can identify your brain patterns. To enter a room, for example, right? And in fact, some of the scanners are so advanced you don't even have to touch anything. You can be several feet away, even further, and they let you in and so forth. So
we read a story last week, didn't we, about being able to scan your fingerprints from meters away?
Yep, absolutely. And don't make no mistake. So everybody who enters the United States, and I've been many a time now, fingerprints. Everybody has to fingerprint as you enter the States. Right, so that's a fact. So the United States is collecting gazillions of fingerprints for something. Plus, you have to look into the camera, so take your picture. They might even take an iris scan at the same time. Who knows, right? Now, all of the globe governments are developing massive biometric databases of their citizens. That's correct. Just let's check out what's going on in India. I've got a little story to tell you about that in a second. But when you come to the Australian airport, if you're a citizen and you put your passport in, you no longer have to go and join the queue. Get a person to verify it. Yeah, that's you, your passport, and off you go. No. In Australia, if you're a citizen and you carry the right kind of passport, you simply scan it in the machine, get a little ticket, then you go to automatic gate. It's an automatic gate which has cameras facing you, and you stand in a spot. You put your little ticket into the machine. Then there's the camera takes a picture of you, compares it to the database, the biometric database it has, and it lets you through. So you no longer have to be checked in by a person. A machine now lets you through based on your biometric data in Australia, if you carry the right kind of passport. Now, in India, and this is interesting to me, it was interesting then, 6 years ago now, I worked for HP. And I was going to run the bid for HP to actually do this for India, to work on the national identity card, right? I was going to be the guy that runs that deal. I chose a different deal that was going on at the time, but I was going to go over to India and do that. So this is sort of close to home for me, and this is what I can tell you about this here. In the last 2 years, in the last 4 years, probably more now, over 200 million Indian nationals. Don't forget, we brought this to you 2 years ago, so it's probably 400 or 500 million nationals now. 200 million Indian or 500 million Indian nationals have had their fingerprints and photographs taken and irises scanned, and given a unique 12-digit number that should identify them everywhere to everyone. Okay, so they now have all of their biometric data taken. They were given a 12-digit number. Thank you very much. And now that's who you are. This is only the beginning, though. right? And the goal is to do the same with the entire population. That's true. The 1.2 billion people. That was the contract I was going to India to bid for, so that poorer Indians can finally prove their existence and identity when needed for getting documents, getting help from the government, and opening bank and other accounts. It's always coming in as helping the people. We are always helping the people. The Patriot 1 and 2. We are helping you be safer, homeland. We are helping you be safer. Restricted travel, tighter gun control. We're doing it for you. You asked for it. You asked for it. I didn't ask for it. You asked for it. There was a mass shooting in Port Arthur. That's how we got our gun control. We asked for it. The people asked for it. Okay? Hello. Now, the immense task needs a database that can contain over 12 billion, obviously, fingerprints, 10 fingers, right? 1.2 billion photographs and 2.4 billion iris scans. And, of course, you need to be queried. This database needs to be queried from diverse devices, connected to the internet, and it can return accurate results in an extremely short time. So we're talking about big data now, guys. This is where we're at, big data. So big data plays a very important role in the world to come. Everybody has a whole bunch of information collected about everyone else. This is just the way we work, sales data, personal data. In fact, most of you guys give it away. You give it away on Facebook, in MySpace. The government couldn't have asked for a better thing. In fact, I am convinced that the government is neck, eye deep in Facebook. All the governments, right? The elite as well. Because we give it away. Photos, personal information, personal statistics. Yeah, sure, give it away. I made a point of limiting. In fact, I post none of my girls' pictures on Facebook. If they're posted by a third party, not much I can do about it, but I will not do that. And they haven't got accounts yet, and it'll be a long time before they will. And I will educate them in what they should share and what they should not share. Because if it's online, if it's digital, it's there forever. It is there forever. There's nothing you can do about it. Oh yeah, it's deleted. No. Nothing is ever deleted. The only way you can actually delete a hard drive is if you melt it down. If you make sure there's this, like, let's say you got a hard drive on your computer, right? And it hasn't been shared with anyone. It hasn't gone out into the internet. That's all good. You then take that hard drive and you erase it. Can be recovered. You put a nail through it. Some sectors can still be recovered. That's and they can reconstruct the whole. You need to melt that guy down. Yeah, you want to be sure about this? Get a powerful electromagnet. Even then, melting it down is shoot it into the sun. Shoot it into the sun. That'll do it. But so big data is it's already being used by the government, of course, and it's all about the compute power. And now compute power is increasing. We're having amazing computers now, chipsets, storage devices. It's astonishing what we can hold. I mean, I remember, Dave, 12, 16 years ago, we had the iPad come in. Not the iPad, the iPac. It was like a personal assistant that wasn't a phone. I bought it. Yeah, exactly. And I bought a 2 meg storage card. It's a little SD card, 2 megabytes. 2 megabytes. Now, the same size storage card, which is about the size of a thumbnail, is a terabyte, which is a million times more storage. A million times. Right, again, megabyte, terabyte, we're talking about a million times. And we haven't even stopped yet. I went to a recent talk in Intel. Was it Intel? I think it was Intel. They were presenting at and they were building a 3-dimensional storage spaces. So these chips are now 3-dimensional. They're no longer flat storage spaces. They're now storing. They're
like a little office building. They're a tower.
Oh, no. I'm talking about the chip. The actual
that's what I'm saying.
Is now 3-dimensional.
They're 3-dimensional. Yes, it's exactly not a single layer building. It's a multiple story storage.
Yes, exactly. And that's astonishing. So now comes the kicker of analyzing that data. Because data in itself doesn't do anything. It just sits there and you can search for it, look for it, and maybe never find it. So what you need are smart algorithms that can actually make connections, they help you in your search. So Google, right, is awesome at that. So Google is in big data in a big way as well. So have you even noticed that if you look for a holiday, all of a sudden things pop up on your screen? Right? Oh, this is Thailand hotels. I didn't really look at that. I went to a completely different website, but here's advertising for hotels in Thailand. Oh, I'm booking a holiday in Thailand. No, that's fortunate. It's not fortunate. You have a digital fingerprint, guys, and big data. They have the algorithms now. They have the compute power to actually crunch all of it. Okay, the global control system, Big Brother, 1984, is a reality right now beyond the wildest imaginations of George Orwell or anyone of that generation.
That's right.
It is astonishing the data that can be combined, related to itself and other bits of data to pinpoint exactly how you react, who you are with, and what you're doing. There are no more secrets. This is a reality now. Okay, this is very real because the government and the military and the elite especially are 3-4 generations ahead of what we have out in the marketplace. Okay, and
when we first broke this this topic, I mentioned that the was it the F-18? I think it was the F-18 when it was brand new. Its CPU was equivalent to the MIPS processing power.
Yeah.
It was equivalent to like 2 years ago the phone that was just released. Okay, so we all know that the smartphones today have more computing power than the whole of NASA did to get to the moon, including what was in the in Eagle and the orbiter, or the LEM. However, if you think about that, when the F-18 was released, what was it? When we had 100 meg. Was 100 megahertz CPU, and they had gigs. You can only imagine what the military has now or has access to, and there's been a plateau of the CPU speeds. We've just seen more and more cores, so that's more and more co-processing that can occur, but the speed really hasn't gotten anywhere.
Yeah, it's because silicon can only be stretched so far. So the next materials like nanotubes, whatever they come up with, that will get us computing much faster. But right now it's the actual material silicon that is the clocking barrier.
Yeah. So the point I'm making is that the military and Google and everybody else out there has way more computing power than you can imagine. Yeah, but what they do also, Mick, you have to point this out, is in that little comfortable world when you do a Google search and try and find something new, you're being limited. They don't want to show you too much new stuff or too much controversial stuff. And on Facebook, they've edited what the feeds are that you get. It's limited and edited. It isn't the true feed. So you have to think about that when you're Googling. If you were to use a different search engine, see what kind of results you get. They're not tailored just for you. You have to think about that. So if they're tailoring the answers just for you, what are they not presenting you? And that's their power. That's their control. That's the mind control. They're telling us what to know. They're telling us what to do. They're telling us this is what we think you should have. And if they wanted to sway you away from an idea, they could present you with the negative aspects of your search towards something that you'd been researching. And I know that you should, if you're doing research, don't just Google it. You'll be presented a specific point of view. Trust me on that. Now, we come to number 8, RFID microchips. RFID. Real quickly, remember this. Most Americans didn't realize this, but RFID microchips is steadily becoming part of the very fabric of our lives. Many of our credit cards and debit cards contain them. Many Americans use security cards that contain RFID microchips at work. In some parts of the country, it is now mandatory to inject the RFID microchip into your pet. Of course, across Australia, it's mandatory. But there was one school in Texas that actually plans to start using RFID microchips to track the movements of their children. Rather than pinning something to their bag or putting it in a shoe or something like that. Oh, let's just inject it into the skin here between the thumb and your first finger. Yeah, that's a nice little soft paddy pit there. That shouldn't give anyone any grief. And this was Northside Independent Schools District plans to track students next year, which they've probably already done, on 2 of its campuses using technology implanted in their students' identification cards in a trial that could eventually include all 112 of its schools and all of its nearly 100,000 students. I remember there was a news story where the school had implanted some chips without parents' consent.
Now, Dave, tell me, what do we normally mark like this? Like, what's being branded? Because that's really a branding thing, isn't it? Isn't
I
it
like
cattle?
the question. Yeah, cattle,
right?
Pets.
Cattle is like prisoners, concentration camp inmates.
Merchandise
right?
In stores.
Merchandise, yes.
Hang
things.
on. These are things, you're right.
And in fact, not just things, but certainly are people or people that are unpeople because they're prisoners or concentration camp inmates or whatever the case may be. Slaves were branded. Dave, they had the brand of their owner on them, right? And I tell you what, if slavery had RFIDs, they would have used the RFID rather than branding them with a glowing iron, wouldn't they?
Absolutely. And it's this anonymity that is the big worry. We'd considered before RFID was considered, that you would have a tattoo on your wrist of the barcode. That's what we thought was going to happen. But really, putting a chip in you with a barcode anyway, still computer read, isn't it? It's still an identity, still trackable. And you can only imagine when a train pulls up and the gates close and you're herded into 3 different sections of a FEMA camp, no doubt this will be one of the processes. Tagging the healthy from the non-healthy. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
It could be racially targeted. We don't know. Maybe there's a program to do it now that we're unaware of.
That's right. Quite possible. Now, we should be coming up to the break, Dave. So we'll probably pause it here. But let's just understand why they're doing this. So it's always safety, right? They always cite the safety concern. And there is it. Don't go away, guys. We're back with more 1984 after this. Donate if you can, if you have the cash.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
There is no denying the world is awakening. We see it in the global uprisings and demonstrations of the people around the planet and the new way of thinking and living that is arising naturally within each one of us and our communities. I have been a major player in this global shift and movement for over 20 years and have helped tens of thousands of people around the world change their lives and find their voice in order to help create the paradigm change we so desperately need. Join me here at Revolution Radio on the Just Bernard Show every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time for 2 hours of powerful interviews and discussion with some of the most influential visionaries of consciousness, alternative media, and suppressed knowledge. We promise to reveal the real matrix and empower your human experience.
Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or a computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it. I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
On the go? Still want to listen? Don't have one of those fancy phones with too many buttons? Don't know what an app is? Or you don't even care? Well, we got you here at Revolution Radio. Now you can dial in 24/7 to listen to our shows. We have a number for Studio A and Studio B, and best of all, it's free. Don't forget, carrier charges for your cell phone provider may apply though, so check with your cell provider to make sure. So ready? Here you go. Get a pen. Here's the number. Studio A is 712-432-6958, and Studio B is 716-748-0112. Thank you very much for listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station in the world. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
You're back with David Mackey's Shiny Side Out on freedomslips.com. That's right, as Hawk said, the #1 listener-supported talk radio in the whole universe. As long as you can get the Earth's radio, internet.
That's right.
Since it is listener-funded radio and you like what you hear, please go to freedomslips.com and push the donate button. It's on the site support page. It's on the left if you're in the chat room, which we ask you all to do. And that is go to www.freedomslips.com, click on the chat link at the top. You can create yourself an avatar too, so you don't have to be your name. You can be anything you like, anything named you like, and push the donate button when you're in there. If you make a significant enough donation, something like $70, $100, there are rules. You can actually receive something in return. You can get a 75,000 seed pack, or you can get a hunting knife, or there's a EMP-proof thumb drive, as you might have heard during the promo, with thousands of survival documents on there. That's going to be the go-to place when the S hits the F. And let's hope it doesn't, but you know what? Every day I look at the news, all I see is us getting baby steps, albeit baby steps, but baby steps towards the time when we'll need it. I don't see this getting any better anytime soon. The politicians of the world are puppets to an agenda that's above us. They've all had ample opportunity to make this world better and have failed. Every attempt, fail. It is uncanny that they've their inability to make this world better for all of us. They claim it is, but there's a hand controlling them that we'll never know. We'll never know who it is. And, Mekki, there was just this big thing here about donations to political parties. I just have to put it out there real quick. And that is, they said, foreign people shouldn't be able to donate to politics in Australia for some reason, because we think that they would want an outcome for their millions of dollars that they gave their political party, a favourable outcome on their behalf. Okay.
There's a shock.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. You're right. Let's ban that then. Sure. What about local donations? Oh, nothing wrong with them. It's part of the process, really, isn't it? So apparently they're trying to make a rule that says you can only donate if you are an individual and living in the country that you're voting in. So if you vote in that country, you should be able to donate money towards the political parties. What a crock. It should come out of the Treasury. That's it. No donations. 0 donations.
I completely agree. Because guess what? If you give someone something, and even if it's a gift, okay, and you're the most altruistic person in the world, if you don't get something in return at some point, you'll feel a bit off. Right?
Remember that $50 alone, Jameki? Sorry, I gave you. I gave you $50, right? I'm sure I did.
Yeah,
right? Once.
I hear you. What?
Can you come pick me up?
I can't remember. Check us in the mail. But the thing is this: it's a complete insanity to suppose that something is given in that kind of environment under those circumstances without something that in return. Come on.
Or
do you think we think we're stupid, right? Clearly.
Yeah, they do. Actually, they do think we're stupid. Think about this. So there is a distinct difference between a foreign donation and a local donation. What? Oh, I know the foreigners want something, not the local people.
Yeah, look,
countrymen. No, they don't want anything. They just want us to win. Yay!
Yay! Ooh. What about strawmen? Like, okay, so you can't have foreign donations. Okay, I gave Joe Blogg, who is a true blue Aussie and lives in wherever he lives by the beach, and throws his prawns. We don't call them shrimp. His prawns on the barbie. I give him $1 billion, and then he gives that to you, and that's okay because he's Australian. I'm not, but I give him the $1 billion. What he does with it, I don't know. I'm just giving it to him. It's his problem.
I'd keep the million. I'd keep $1 million in change. Let's just change.
They'll come for you. By the way, I want to do a quick shout out to Murray, who just messaged me. Well, hey, Murray, I hope you're enjoying your barbecue. One of our listeners in Australia. And
awesome.
And I'm glad to see that people are listening. It's nice to understand that you're not just talking to yourself here. But
I have to also add, though, that I'd like to say hello to all those new people. That reminded me, all the new people listening that we have today. Anyone who has subscribed, anyone who has followed or typed comments in to any of our videos, I hope you're on board with us. And for the most part, Mekki, I have to say, there's not that many haters out there. I think the people who are following us are on board, and that pleases me greatly. Thank you for contributing as well.
The ratio of likes to dislikes is we've got about it's about 5%. So we got a number of likes, whatever that is, that number, and then compared to that number, 5% dislikes. So if there was 1,000, then there would be like 50 or something like that, right? So that's pretty good. I like that ratio. It's better to be not hated. Having said that, it's also better to be noticed, and I'd rather be noticed and hated than not noticed. But I'd rather be loved.
Okay. You can hate him if you like. I've had my share, let me tell you. Mekki, this is show 239.
Yeah, 930 and 200. We're approaching 250. That's nuts. But this time we have to broadcast show number 250. 250
from the same location.
From the same location.
Oh goodness!
That should us actually 250. That should get us to around Christmas, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that.
About
yep.
Something like that. Which also means we're very close to being on the air for 5 years. Very close. Once
we're in our 5th year.
We are.
Yeah, but we'll have completed the 5th year.
Correct. Now,
look, we are talking today. We're talking about, this is part 2. If you just caught us, this is part 2 of our 1984 George Orwell comparison to today.
correct.
That we're going through.
Yeah, and we brought that show to you some 2 or 3 years ago. We are bringing it again. In fact, it was show number 84. We forced, because we thought it was clever. All right, so show number 84 was 1984, and it was clever. But
Still clever.
yeah, it's still clever. And now we're bringing it back because it was lost. The archives were lost, deleted by YouTube. But whatever. Here we are again. And we're going to talk about number 9 now, which is the automated license plate readers. Again, 2 years ago now, the technology has much advanced. In fact, in Australia, it has been rolled out to the West Australian Police. I know this because I know it. Okay, so it is being used here in Australia intensively, and I'm sure it's going to be rolled out to the rest of Australia as we go along. Now,
it is in New South Wales.
Yep, absolutely. It is, yes, it is as well. And now, clearly in the States, it was being rolled out in Washington, D.C., and this is what the quote we have here for you. And essentially, a vehicle can enter, Washington, and it's monitored until it actually leaves that. In fact, you know what's funny? Just this little sidestep here. A lot of parking houses have now introduced in Australia license plate recognition as well. License plate recognition. I'll tell you why. Near our work, there's a big shopping center with a big car park, but there's also very little parking available for people that work in the adjacent office buildings. So it's like an industrial park, right? There's a lot of companies there. They have their offices there, whatever. But limited parking. So what people used to do, because it's a fairly quick walk to most of the offices, they park in the shopping center where you can park for free for 3 hours. So that you can park for free for 3 hours. You can still do that, right? And then they would leave their work and then drive the car around for a couple of minutes and drive back in for another 3 hours. And depending on how long they work, they can do it again. So you park for free for 9 hours. Really, that's the point. Now, the shopping center smartened up to that. Okay, they realized what was going on. And what they now have, which actually makes it a lot longer to enter the car park, they take a picture of your license plate as you drive in. And then, as you drive out, they compare that license plate with your car yet again to see how long you were there. And then, in fact, if you've been there before on that day, and if you have been there on that day before, and it becomes a regular thing, you are, well, I don't want to say banned, but there's certain actions that they're taking, like not letting you in or charging you or whatever the case may be, right? So they're smartening up. They're smartening up, if there's such a word. Now, but having said that, now this license plate recognition here is I don't want to say it's a problem, but the thing is this. Your license plate is linked to your driver's license. There's a whole bunch of data around you, especially if you've outstanding parking tickets, speeding tickets, and so forth, right? They can now use that data and combine it all. So they'll know everything. If your license is expired, if you have outstanding tickets, they just by looking at your car. And the article here says, this was again 2 years ago in Washington, more than 250 cameras in the district, that's the District of Columbia, and its suburbs can scan license plates in real time, helping police pinpoint stolen cars and fleeing killers.
Helping.
I loved it. Fleeing killers. This is what it says here. Fleeing killers. Because that's what we're focusing here. Huh? We introduced this license plate recognition to get the fleeing killers. That's what we did. Oh, that's priceless. But the program quietly has expanded beyond what anyone had imagined even a few years ago. With virtually no public debate, in America that is, and none here, in fact, police agencies have begun storing the information from the cameras, building databases that document the travels of millions of vehicles. They're getting your patterns.
That's right.
They're getting your patterns, right? Nowhere is that more prevalent than in the District of Columbia in Washington, which has more than one plate reader per square mile. I think there's a lot more now. The highest concentration at that time in the United States. Police in the Washington suburbs have dozens of them as well, and local agencies plan to add many more in coming months, creating a comprehensive dragnet that will include all the approaches into the district. 1984, Big Brother is watching you for sure.
Mickey, I have something to add. So the New South Wales police pursuit vehicles have speed cameras built into them. Speed cameras, and those cameras also have license plate recognition. And they're a full 360, and they can determine whether the car that they're following has run out of registration, or the oncoming car on the other side of the road has run out of registration, or has been decided it's stolen. Whatever the report is on that plate, they're running all the plates in them, around them, while they're driving. So if they're parked on the side of the road, every car that goes past, they're running the plates. They're online. Being online is something else. And you have to consider, there was, at least 10 years ago, I remember there was a case where the traffic cameras, the cameras that are fixed or movable, cameras which were there only to monitor traffic. So, there's a backlog on this particular road. Those were hooked up to the system, and when it went live, and they found the perpetrators of a crime had gone to the eastern suburbs, Meckie, of Sydney.
Okay.
And they were on, South Head Road? That's where they were found. The system detected the perpetrator's vehicle on Old South Head Road. And I just thought that was something else. And I thought, wow, look, that's helping, I thought. And that's before big data. And as soon as big data came out, you combine cell phones with this tracking. And in England, Meckie, for instance, from the moment you get off the plane, the face recognition, all the way through all the vehicles that you've gotten into and out of, all the way into the middle of London. You've not been out of sight of a camera the entire time.
Yeah.
So, what does that mean for you?
In fact, Great Britain is the most surveilled country in the world.
In the world.
It is. Yep.
Absolutely. Now, I'm glad I got number 10. This is face reading software. I was at a trade show and I met the inventor of the technology and talked to him personally, and he stated to me that he does not know.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah, we really was cool. And it was brand new. No one's ever seen it before. And he said, look, I opened a stand. I was just trying to make a company up. And now in hindsight, he never appeared there again, ever. It was like militarized, policized, if you want to call it that, and put everywhere. Sold it worldwide. I'm sure he's retired somewhere now with billions. But when I spoke to him, he said he didn't actually understand how it knew. How did this software that he'd written himself, understand face rec? And now, of course, it's on our photographic license. Face rec is all, it's recorded everybody that way. And so nationally, everyone who has an ID card with a photo on it that's government issued, face rec. And that same face rec can identify you anywhere on a government controlled or privately fed to the government feed of any video surveillance. But his software was so extraordinary, Meckie, and this is what they use in customs, and that is that it keeps the 10 of the best images of you. 10 of them. And you might go, glancing, you've got your phone up or you can't see you entirely. It'll know you because of a previous use. So whether you used your credit card, or whether you've used an ID of some kind, a registration somewhere. And if you go to a trade show, all your details are listed in there. It's voluntary. You don't mind. Facebook. I can upload a photo of someone. If without even tagging the person, I've chosen for it to auto tag them if they're in the photo. And it does that. And it can, and it does. Everything online, like Meckie said, I no doubt recommend that they've already combed every image on the internet. Because once you've got your database, let's compare it, huh, Meckie?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Sure. Hey, yeah, no, that's illegal. That's okay.
No, you made it public. You chose public in your share.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Computers can tell what you're thinking. There's computer programs now, instead of a lie detector, they can listen to your voice, its inflections, and watch the micro movements in your face under surveillance and know whether you're telling the truth or lying.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, such technology is actually being developed, actively developed right now. I know that they're working on stuff already, and they can even do some even better things, Meki. There's now a way of being able to picture what you're thinking on a screen.
Yep.
So the question here, this is from 2 years ago. If the computer we stare at all day could read our face, or our faces collectively, they would probably know us better than anyone. Now, remember the Google application to speak into your phone, the iPhone one, Siri. Do you think that they haven't globally collected all of that voice print data? Just for 1 second, think to yourself. They have. They have collected all of that, all of our voice print. In fact, the bank has now got a voice print of mine. The tax office, Meki, I rang them the other day to make a query, and they have a voice print of mine that I can use next time I call up, rather than a PIN number.
Yeah, that's where we are.
So they know all of this, and I have to say that the vision may not be so far off that they've, in this, the researchers of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology Media Lab are developing software that can read the feelings behind facial expressions. I have to tell you that this is 2 years old. I reckon they're way past it.
Oh, yeah.
They probably are at the point where they know what you're about to feel. Because remember, Meki, for
Free
1
crime.
second... Yeah,
Pre-crime.
Pre-crime. For 1 second, if you're browsing through your Facebook, they know what you're looking at. Being able to turn on and off your camera on your phone, think about that. You look at something that should bring you joy, they know what you're looking at. They can associate the two together. If you're put out by something, or if you think something's in bad taste, your facial expression will do the same thing. It wouldn't be very long before an automated jury, because they've thrown due cause out the window. They can now arrest you in both of our countries, in the US and certainly in Australia now, indefinitely without a charge. That law was just passed last week here in Australia. So think about that. There would be an auto judge. You stand in front of the lectern and it says, plead your case. You tell them some story about it, truthfully, I expect. And it just says, guilty. And you're taken away. And they go, next.
Yeah.
There would be no lawyers, Meki. Imagine a world with no lawyers. Sorry if you're a lawyer.
It's a good world for me, but the other implications aren't so great, right?
But Meki, with all this data, what can they do?
Actually, I will go to data mining in just a second, because there's one thing I have to mention to you guys, that you should read a book by Robert Sheckley. Robert Sheckley. You must all have all the books of Robert Sheckley, like I do in my library here. It is talking about all. He wrote in the 50s and 60s mainly. He was a great writer. He was compared to Voltaire, only Voltaire with soda. He writes funny. It's funny, it's alarming, it's all kinds of things. Free Jack is based on one of his books. There are a few others as well. The 10th Victim, for example, which is an older movie. Do read Robert Sheckley. He talks about all of this stuff in the 50s and 60s. Auto judges, just as Dave has just mentioned. There's a fantastic novel he wrote about this prison planet that everybody's shipped to. And then how this one guy tries to get back and finds that, well, I don't want to take the enjoyment surprise away. You have to read it. You have to read it, guys. Data mining, Dave. It is data mining. What do we do with it? We data mine. And that's big data yet again. So all of this, everything we're talking about, in the Big Brother world here. So surveillance is one thing. Being watched is one thing. That's all good, right? So there it is. They're watching you. Who cares? Essentially. And the panopticon, they don't even watch you, right? And we are in a panopticon to some extent. But unless you can do something with that data, unless you can do something with the information that surveillance gives you, all these technologies that are being used to watch you are completely useless if they're just there to watch you, right? Because there's not enough man or woman power in the world to actually analyze all that stuff, right? Or to act on it. So what do? You come up with smart super smart algorithms. You get these big databases, right? And the data is there. And they write these queries and they write these algorithms to extract the data they want on you. And that's all being automated now, guys, right? There's no more people involved here. And this is really the kicker. This is big data. This is data mining. This is putting it all together. This is data sharing across everything, across governments, across platforms, across nations. Okay, the elite has the data. They do. It's a God access, if you will, for those guys, right? Now, the government, in fact, is not the only one that's spying on us. Right? The truth is that a whole host of very large corporations are gathering every shared information about you that they can possibly can. And they're selling that information for profit. Mm-hmm. For profit. Because the new currency in the world is data. Gold, who cares? Money. Money is not even real. It's dead. Fiat currency. We spoke about that at length. You understand fiat currency now. If you're a frequent listener, you understand fiat currency. You understand the fraud that has been perpetrated on us when we talk about our currency, our money. It's not real. It's bogus. Okay, it's a complete figment of our imagination. No, the real value is in information, data, knowledge, right? And they're getting more and more of it every year. Okay, it's called data mining, right? That's the actual term for it, and it's an industry that has exploded in recent years. One very large corporation known as Axiom actually compiles information on more than 100 million people in the US alone. 100 million. That's 2/3 of your population. 2/3.
190 million.
2/3. Yep. 190 million. So 300 million in the States. That's 2/3. Guys, that's a lot. Now, this data, this is the kicker. This is the key. They know all about you. They know what to sell you. They know how to sell it to you. In fact, they know how to make you want to buy something. They know when you can't afford something, right? They know when you maybe have criminal intent. And all these corporations, they're selling this information. Who do you think would buy it? The government. And none of these people are, in fact, your friends. They want information about you so they can control you. Information, the more information you have, the more control you have. The more data you have, the more you can determine policy and make people do whatever you want. In fact, they don't have these draconian laws anymore. They make you ask for it. They make you ask for these laws. Oh, please help me, Mr. Big Government, help me, protect me. Oh,
I want to feel safer. Blah, blah.
It's safety, yeah. It feels, I'm cuddled. I feel safe. Thank you very much. So much better. All the evildoers, they're no longer harming me. Now, this is what they're saying about Axiom. The company fits into a category called database marketing. It started in 1969 as an outfit called Demographics Incorporated. Demographics, population information and so forth. Using phone books and other notably low-tech tools as well as one computer to amass information on voters and consumers for direct marketing. Yeah, it's like a marketing company. Almost 40 years later, Axiom has detailed entries for more than 190 million people and 126 million households in the United States and about 500 million active consumers worldwide. 500 million. More than 23,000 servers in Conway, just north of Little Rock, collect and analyze more than 50 trillion data transactions a year. That's 50 trillion data transactions a year. This is staggering. That's one company. That's a private.
That's only one of them.
Yeah, and imagine how many hundreds of thousands of servers the government has. I mean, Google puts that to shame. Google, Facebook, they have hundreds of thousands of servers too, all over the world. They have to in order to run their business. Guys, this is a real thing. We are living in the data age, right? If you're thinking anything else, you're wrong. This is the age of data. This is the new currency. It's the only thing that counts. Be careful who you give your data to. Yeah, it's your soul, if you will. Don't sell it cheaply.
Yeah, look, so true. Meki, the deal that Verizon was about to make with Yahoo this week, worth $4.8 billion, where Verizon was going to buy Yahoo. And then, if you didn't know about this, wait for this.
I didn't know, no.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Okay, so Yahoo claims that in 2 years ago, in 2014, they were hacked. Nation state hack, they said. 500 million. I'm just going to repeat that. 500 million accounts were compromised.
Wow.
So their explanation for it was that someone worked with them. Nation state became employed in one of their offices and sucked the database away. A copy of it. You have to consider that. All right, so we're talking data is gold. Now, data has a value. You can sell it. So who bought it? And why would you go to Yahoo to get 500 million accounts, which can include your purchasing history, financial details, all the website logons that you might have logged on to. If you use a Yahoo email address, you might have used that in other websites. So it's an extraordinary quantity of data, which I'm sure 2 years later, they're probably still working through. And this was only brought out because of this sale to Verizon. Now, how does that look for Verizon? Not very good. Well, we're going to buy you and all your data. Because just buying Yahoo, well, that's pretty useless. But that 500 million contacts? Imagine how we could utilize that. And if they're being compromised, someone else has a copy of it.
Yeah, it's gold.
What does that mean for the business? We don't know. We'll have to wait and see to see what occurs as a result. But Yahoo stocks went down.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
Street lights, number 12. Street lights spying on us. There is a town, Mackie, I think it was in Melbourne, where they changed all the street lights to be smart lights, they called it. Smart lights. Smart lights are lights that don't burn power needlessly if there's no one there. They have infrared detectors like therms, and they're able to spot a thermal heat source, like a person, for instance, and turn the lights on just for them if they happen to be the only person walking down the street. But what would you do, Mackie, if you couldn't see anyone in that street but there was a light on? Would you walk down it?
Yeah. Well, you would.
If you couldn't see anyone else there and you started walking down, you could be attacked by someone.
If the light is off, yes. If the light is on and I see no one, that's okay.
Well, if the light is on and you see no one, they might be there and it was on because they're hiding. You have to think about this for a minute, right? The implications, it's very strange. So we just burn electricity like this, like it's free. Yeah, with our lighting in the streets and parks.
That's the thing. It's free.
It should be free. It's not free. It's not free at the moment.
Could be free.
It could be free. But what they're trying to do, this is a federally funded high-tech streetlights are now being installed in American cities and are not only set to aid the DHS in making security and announcements and acting as a talking surveillance camera, they are also capable of recording conversations, bringing the potential privacy threat posed by IntelliStreets, in inverted commas, to a whole new level. This was obviously before we found out that they can turn the microphone on and off on your mobile phone or your cell phone whenever they want and do that anyway. Why bug anything when you can just turn it on? You don't have to go on-prem, as it's called, to place a bug anywhere anymore. You can just intercept the phone even though it's not picked up. That was an old school trick from the olden days with copper, and the phone sitting on the thing was still transmitting back to the even though you didn't have to put a bug in the room, you could just tap onto that. But now on your cell phone, it's 24/7, it's perpetual as long as you've got connection. So you have to think about that. But street lights spying on us, my goodness, what's next?
What's next? I'll tell you what's next. Number 14 is next. The one you will do. That's the one's next. But in the meantime, I'll talk about number 13. So yeah, well, you will see what I mean when Dave gets to it. What's next after streetlights spying on us? The automated ISP monitoring of our internet activity. So this is another point we raised 2 years ago. if you're downloading copyrighted material, then they will come for you. There were laws introduced, a couple of years ago, and even as recently as this year and last year, that deal with it. However, it has not been quite the doom and gloom that we thought it would be. A lot of torrent sites were shut down. If you are at all into torrenting, then you know what I'm talking about. They were shut down and never to be reopened. So a lot of them have gone down. A few left still. So the illegal downloading of copyrighted material has been somewhat curbed, not completely stopped. And if you cut one head off, two new will grow. But what hasn't happened, and it may well though, because the legal platform for this now exists. What hasn't happened, they haven't come for individual users yet. Okay, and I tell you why I think that hasn't happened. What do telcos sell? Any carriage provider, what do they sell? Bandwidth. That's what they sell. And throughput. Bandwidth and throughput. And you start telling people they can't download stuff, you look at how their profit's going to go.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah?
Everyone will jump
That's
ship
not
to
gonna-
someone who doesn't sell their data to the government. But,
Boom, right
but
there,
of course
right?
now they're all doing it, and it's mandatory in this country.
That's right. So this is the kicker, right? Now the laws exist, right? So they can be enforced, and there were, all of this was coordinated by the Obama administration in the States. There was deal brokered between the Recording Industry Association of America and the Motion Picture Association of America, right? And again, the ISPs announced that they would do that. They haven't. In fact, I still think to this, it's a complete nonsense that this will ever be enforced. What has happened, though, I like to say, and this is probably one positive point here, the commercial model around movies and music has changed significantly. And what I mean by that is you used to have to go and either buy a DVD, buy a Blu-ray, or watch the TV, with the advertising, or get paid for TV, like a pay TV, where you don't have any ads, but you can watch the movie and you just pay for it. Now you can actually pay for what you want to watch. You can pay for how much you want to watch, like Netflix, to name one product or one company. There are others as well, obviously, and you can watch whatever you like for $4. $4, not tens or hundreds or thousands of dollars, no, $4, sometimes cents, entire series, and you watch it whenever you want to watch it. So you're no longer bound by the programming that the TV stations or radio stations bring out to you, right? In fact, take it our show here. I mean, you're not paying for it, which is great. That's a good model, but you can also listen to it at any time you want, because Dave and I we host it on YouTube. Right, so this show will be up on YouTube, and you can listen to it at any point you want. It's giving you freedom to do whatever you want.
That half a millisecond we get is really important. But Mekki, I have to say, Mekki, to be honest, the amount of money that the lawsuit was attempting to recover from an individual being something like in the value of $100,000 for copyright violation stands as a joke in comparison to the $11 for your Netflix account, where you can watch all of those movies anyway, and it's a subscription, so it's unlimited access to their database of movies. Hang on, so how is the $100,000? Who am I paying here? They're just the lawyers. You know?
Exactly.
So that $11, I pay $11. Well, in fact, I already have a Netflix account. Thank you, Netflix. We'll put a banner ad up, please, or something.
Well, it's a good commercial model. It is a sound commercial model to take into account where we are as a society, including our technological transformation. Right? It makes sense.
With my NBN, I can stream 4K, and that's finally made me happy. Mekki, with my big screen. Remember how I've always spoken about the big screens?
Yes.
You give the government. Remember, we let them eat cake, right?
Yes.
See,
let them eat.
You get it, right? So if you can, one of the quotes, it's not our quote, but one of the quotes is that if you can keep them fat and stupid, they'll be happy. And I think we're seeing all of that coming to pass. We're happy because we can have our ball games, we can have our motor racing, we can have our endless TV shows on our big screens, and we have our fast data, we can do the things that we're told make us happy, which really is just basically putting a fence up around us and like a cage around us and saying, "You're happy, right?" And you go, "Yeah, I'm happy." Because we've conditioned you to do that.
Yes, absolutely. Bread and games. The Romans said it best. Carne at I can't remember the name for games. It was bread and games though. They coined the phrase. Yeah.
So number 14, spying on us through our appliances. I've already covered this off a little bit. I was always after the fridge that knew that I had to restock it, and that still hasn't happened yet. So anyone out there, please make my fridge. Tell me I need to buy some more milk. Or tell me when the kids have completely emptied the packets of ice creams and left the empty box in there. That would be extremely handy, especially at midnight when I want one of the ice creams and there's none left. But I have to... Thank you. If it wasn't for those meddling kids. Could the government one day use your refrigerator to spy on you? Absolutely. This is exactly what CIA Director David Petraeus says is coming. Petraeus says that web-connected gadgets will transform the art of spying, allowing spies to monitor people automatically without planting bugs. Now, that's exactly what I've already said. Breaking and entering, or even donning a tuxedo to infiltrate a dinner party. Transformational is an overused word, but I do believe it properly applies to these technologies, said Petraeus, particularly to their effect on clandestine tradecraft. Items of interest will be located, identified, monitored, and remotely controlled through technologies such as radio frequencies identification, sensor networks, tiny embedded servers, and energy harvesters, all connected to the next generation internet using abundant low-cost and high-power computing. Petraeus was speaking to a venture capital firm about new technologies which aim to add processors and web connections to previously dumb home appliances such as fridges, ovens, and lighting systems.
Yeah, and then it's your clothing after that. Clothing will have it too.
Mickey, the company I work for sell a product that you can Bluetooth to your kitchen cabinet.
Really?
I kid you not. If you want to play music, your entire kitchen is the speaker.
Nice.
Now, I think that's awesome, but at some point it will recognize whether you've got the intellectual property rights to play that music or not. And then here comes a subscription. I can smell it.
That's right. In fact, WD in Irish is correct. The term of what we're talking about here is the Internet of Things. It is the Internet of Things. It's software-defined networking. It's all of that stuff. So it's not going to stop with gadgets. The clothing that you wear will be connected. Everything that you will be connected somehow through a direct interface. It's going to happen. You know, we've got VR, we've got AR. It's all working hand in hand to push us down that route. It's not going to be just the Internet of Things. It's going to be the Internet of People. It's going to be Internet of Things and the Internet of People. We will be on the Internet. You will be online. I guarantee it. Okay, be it through some kind of device or an actual direct interface into your neural pathways. But that's not very, very far away, guys. It is not very far away.
But Mickey,
and we, yeah, go ahead.
Once we are connected as an individual, isn't that the Borg?
Yes, to some extent. It depends on how much override power central authorities will have. I mean, this is a scary thing. Because essentially all we are, we are more than that, but in this physical reality, our brains are electrical patterns, right? And neurological pathways. We've got neurons, which have 5 connections each, right? The ganglions, and they can each brain cell can make 5 connections to other cells. That's a powerful connective system, but each one of us has a unique brain print, a brain signature, right? And certain ways of thinking and doing things. And if you are now connected to the rest of us, right? Dave, there could even be Could there be central control? Yes, absolutely. I mean,
Completely.
how much easier would it be to have a subconscious stimulus applied to your brain directly? Forget about watching something on the screen. This is going directly into your brain.
But
This is
remember RoboCop, the remake,
yeah.
where the person with that connected CPU believes they're making those moves themselves, but it wasn't them.
Yeah.
It was the CPU. So at some point there would have to be a crossover between it just being a neat thing that we can, Google something by thinking about it, get the answer, and suddenly, though we think we're being smart about it, we're exclusively being dumbed down because we no longer have to think about it. It just pops in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so once we do that, isn't that your explanation of the dream place not being the reality that we live in? If somehow when we dreamt they wouldn't be able to see those dreams and we could be in that alternate reality.
Yeah.
Once again, if it wasn't being recorded, but no doubt they'll have come up with a way to record that too. I suspect, and only being offline or being in a Faraday cage or being somewhere where they wouldn't be able to record it. We have to talk about this now because we're so close, if not already, that it's not funny.
No, the fundamental technology exists, right? In fact, direct brain interfaces already exist as well. I don't know if you saw this, but we spoke about this before. There was an experiment recently conducted where a person controlled another person's hand.
That's
remotely.
Right. Yep.
So this is information that's being transmitted through some means into the other person's brain directly to control their hand or control whatever. So this technology is in existence. The other, the thing is this: there is no limit to what can be done. There is no limit to what can be done. Okay, once an idea has formed in someone's brain. Okay, it will soon be realized, and maybe that speaks a lot to about the nature of our reality here, right? It speaks a lot to the fact that in fact our thoughts become manifest. That seems to be the case. We are manifesting our desires, and it becomes a physical reality, right? This ties right into the quantum theory of our world and how quantum mechanics explains how things are working, right? The observer phenomenon, and in fact, nothing is actually real until you observe it, right? That's a very powerful statement. But by definition and by extension, this must also mean things that we imagine come into existence, right? Our mind's eye sees it, and there it is.
That's right. Look, it brings up this. Do you remember the thing called Stingray, which was the cell phone towers, which have been placed around and sort of in some locations look like pine trees. They've been dressed to look like a pine tree, but it's really a cell phone tower. And the cell phone towers themselves are just a throughput interceptor of your communications. And these are being put up by third parties as well, not just the FBI. But because the FBI says, there's in front of me, I've got some text here. It says the FBI has tried to keep evidence gleaned from its advanced national security technology secret in court proceedings relating to domestic investigations. Technology like stingrays, which mimic cell phone towers to track location information of an entire geographical area. I remember when was it Clinton, wasn't it, Mekhi, that came out to Sydney and occupied the International Hotel, and there was a black van covered in aerials like a porcupine across the street. I looked through that window and it pulled up and stopped, and I looked through the driver's window from the side and there was no one seated in there. But there was someone sitting there. It was like it was an LCD screen. Unbelievable technology. You've got to think about the billions in the black budgets.
Oh, trillions. Remember, the Pentagon lost $2.3 trillion on September 10th?
Yeah, that's right. No, it's not 9/11, was it?
No.
9/10. So the day before.
9/10. And nobody spoke about it ever again.
No, except for crazy conspiracy nuts.
Do you know what? I saw one comeback to that. It was an accounting error. Okay.
You'll never
Okay.
find it now. The office is gone.
Yeah, well, we'll never know.
Doesn't matter.
It's
Trillions.
This
Who
this amount of
cares?
money is staggering. As illusionary as the money is, it buys real things in this world. $2.3 trillion dollars. That's thousands of billion. Okay, that's $2,300 billion.
Yep.
I don't know. I actually can't imagine what that could buy. I
I think
don't know.
you could probably buy an entire country somewhere. Do you know the FBI, just on the Stingrays, the FBI has even chosen to throw out legal prosecutions, there's a Freudian slip, prosecutions, to hide its technical capabilities. This is the same thing when nearing the end of World War II, when the Allies had already deciphered online in real time the machine used to encrypt the Enigma machine used to encrypt the German transmissions. They had learned of things through the online translation of the breaking of the code, but couldn't act on it because that would have shown their hand. And now this is what the FBI is doing. They've ditched legal proceedings and prosecutions just so they can keep their information candid.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Now this must be some powerful stuff. Clearly, more important than trying to serve whatever they call justice here, because I guess once it came into the public domain, especially in the States, there would be some kind of call for either congressional or senatorial oversight, and clearly, that is not the case. The levels of and we know this. Recently there was a scandal about how America is spying on its own people and on foreign leaders.
It's spying on the whole planet.
Well, whatever happened to that news story? It just whoosh, there it
Buried.
goes. No, it's not interesting anymore. It's gone.
Wow.
But yeah, look, it is true that we haven't heard anything about it. What's the fallout? Who was fired? What changes are being made? Which systems are being retired? Well, none of them. There's Carnivore, there's Echelon, there's next generational things. Forget about Carnivore and Echelon. We're well beyond that now. We're well beyond that. We're moving into such a data-rich world, and we freely, again, I say it again, and I urge you guys not to do this. We give it away for free. We give our information away for free, all the time. Okay, information is really what makes you. Let's say all your information is somewhere. A computer decides to have a glitch and deletes all your information. Gone. Your bank accounts, your employment records, your driver's license, health insurance, gone. Because the computer says you don't exist. Do you know it would be impossible for you to actually establish your existence legally unless you have all these records? So I'm here physically. It doesn't matter. Computer says you're not.
Well, they're
We
not
haven't
going to
existed.
believe
We
that
haven't got any of your
you're.
information.
They won't believe your claim that you're you.
Yeah, you become an unperson.
That's right.
I wonder how many people that are on the streets these days and have maybe gone mad over this actually have had this experience. I'm curious, right? I mean, I'm sure this has happened. It's bound to happen. Data, identity theft. What? Identity theft? That's a thing? Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, they can steal you.
You know what I mean?
Without stealing
Yeah.
you. They can
Yeah.
be you. But you can't be
Yeah.
you if you're deleted. They can be you
That's
if you
right.
still exist.
That's right. So it's we get screwed coming and going, guys, right? So if you exist, your identity can be stolen, and all of a sudden you're being prosecuted for crimes you did not actually commit, but someone who stole your identity did. Okay? Or, or your identity gets deleted altogether and you no longer exist. You're now becoming an unperson. There's nothing in America. I think it's worse than it would be in Australia. And Australia is a bit more commonsensical that way. We've got more common sense here, in my opinion, but I could be wrong. In America, though, if you haven't got an address, even like a simple thing as a permanent address, that pretty much takes you out of circulation. Wow, that was quick. Is that the music already?
That is the music. We'll see you back same time next week after Solaris's show for show number 240. Take care, everyone. Have a really good week.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Donate.
Donate.
if
Don't
you
forget
can,
to donate. Get yourself a cool gift in return. Anyway, take care.